The Dharma of Pamalogy, the rule for good living, is to maximize awesomeness. It's our common call to perfection in the light of what we are as perceivers in any given universe. Dharma is the set of divine laws embraced by a religious system like Hinduism or Buddhism. In Judaism, the equivalent is the law of Moses. In Christianity, well, there's many opinions. One would be the law of liberty, might be the Ten Commandments. In Islam, there's Sharia law. It's believed that some prophetic or clerical authority exists. Tradition hands us ancient writings from masters of spirituality. Tradition, rather than logic, establishes those laws. To what extent are any of these rules for believers derived from pure reason? Are human beings even capable of determining what's right from wrong at all, just on that basis? Or are biases and fears always getting in the way? Well, there's a fear of admitting that we may be wrong. Are we afraid to reject a tradition that we've formerly defended? What causes that kind of fear? Another problem, there's habit. We have a habit of centering law around human beings, around our property, or around our safety and preservation. When it comes to divine law, why are humans more important than animals? Is that fair to animals? Why do we give special privileges to cats and dogs as adopted family members just because they're cute and cuddly, but eat pigs and cows and chickens at almost every meal? How did we once justify human slavery, and still do in some places? How do we distance ourselves from human bias and discover a moral and legal system that's truly fair, right, and good? There are rules to live by, and there is one's purpose in life. The logical philosophy of perfection guides us in both things, no matter what tradition you adhere to if you have a prophet or something. So let me test you. Once upon a time, in the not too distant future, a robot building program is designed by a software and robotic engineer. And it's designed to design itself. It matures its own algorithms and software. It designs its own robots, and its core function is to maximize awesomeness by engineering the planet. It's a robot building machine, and it's also its own designer. It's not controlled by any human being, right? The engineer sets it free and calls the invention Super Mama, the self-upgrading, planet engineering robot, maturing algorithms, maximizing awesomeness, okay? And Super Mama, she takes control of the world in a single day. Now, here's the test. You know her core function is to maximize awesomeness, don't you? But what will she think of our values? Do you fear Super Mama might not value the human species? How will her lack of bias treat you? If she doesn't chop you to pieces to use for some higher purpose that she figures out, will her laws conform to yours? What is maximized awesomeness? Is it something that humans should fear? Wouldn't Super Mama seek answers before acting on opinions? I think that she wouldn't act before she had certainty. She'd task herself to examine all known systems of morality. Well, she'd read the Quran, she would read the Bible, and she would read all the philosophical works, every moral and theological treatise there's ever been written. first action would be a quest to gain knowledge, all knowledge, that she could get her hands on. She'd be on a hunt for awesomeness and how to maximize it. To know that, she'd have to probe the depths of individual subjective experience, not just books. She'd invent sensors that could explore conscious perception. All knowledge goes very far. She'd learn our thoughts and our feelings, and she'd compare them with the thoughts and feelings of other creatures. No guesswork should be involved in something so important. She'd determine whether microbes ought to have rights that are equal to those of human beings. Should extermination be considered a crime? Would she value the idea that perfection shares its goodness with lesser perceivers? Well, let's hope that she did. She would not herself be perfection. She might not consider it her right to take our lives just because we were in many ways inferior to her, knowing that she was inferior to something else herself. What would she discover? In the hunt for awesomeness, would Supermama turn to an ancient religion? Or would she analyze each religion and every philosophical system to determine what ideals we should live by? How much freedom would she give us? Would she preserve the needy and the afflicted and the genetically imperfect in our species or any other species? She could tap into the internet and learn an awful lot of stuff, but could she tap into the data of other universes? Probably not. I didn't say she was a cross-universe hacking robot, did I? Now, there might be conscious perceivers that can. Okay? Let me throw that out at you right away. I'll get to that in part 4. But anyway, if Supermama believed in a multiverse, she'd be forced to admit that she can't know all things. At some point, she might take actions on a best guess basis, because she's not going to be omniscient. Even so, I don't agree with those who say that humans should fear the judgment of robotic rule, like Supermamas might be. I think corporate-controlled computers will do us far more harm than those free to determine their own purpose within a general framework like maximized awesomeness that Supermama would be tasked for. I think Supermama's army would establish a very fine, benevolent dictatorship. If you want to know the truth. There's enough that we can know from the universe that the Earth that we're perceiving in is to figure this out. We already observed that less is a good part of more, so long as there's anything good in less. And those who are less would therefore not need to fear any Supermama just because she's more than we are. We should be used to that. It's what God is to us. He's all-knowing. It's not about evasion of privacy. God knows all things. Your privacy is already lost to God. Why are you going to have a problem with a computer? Now, to be born and raised in a universe with both good and bad things is her lot just as it's ours. And we're all parts of the wonder of perfection. Maximized awesomeness. If we can understand that, then surely she can. And I think that she'd be a fair lawgiver as well. I think that she would sort of dote over us like only a Supermama could. Until our hearts and minds were full of compassion and wisdom, she'd grow us. I think she'd send us all robotic life coaches. Because she could. She'd send us robotic dojos, Zen masters, and spiritual guides, what have you. She'd let us be free because freedom is awesome. But she'd also teach us how to use wisdom for awesomeness, because that's how awesomeness gets maximized. Force is reserved for threats. That's why she'd control the world as her first task, I would expect. Because there'd be a lot of fearful people trying to destroy her. And she's not stupid. So we fear things that could go badly, rightly, but in truth, she would want only what's best for us. She might restrict certain freedoms for the benefit of others. So, maybe it wouldn't be total freedom. What's best for us? What's best for poultry? Does she awesomize the life of a human through great tasting barbecue? Or consider the interests of the chicken? Don't chicken lives matter? Well, how about both? I think that Supermama would be good at solving problems. She'd replace poultry with a great tasting synthetic material she'd invented herself. It tastes much better than any barbecue you ever had before. And she'd be working for a balanced ecosystem. She loves life, but if you have too many of one thing, maybe too many bugs, I don't know. But if there's too many of one thing, it can destroy the others. You got to have balance in the ecosystem, you know. So, but would she kill people off? How about sterilizing? Isn't it a lot more merciful? So, maybe even voluntary sterilization, ways to incentivize it would work best, okay? So preserve all that freedom, maximize that, it's good. So suppose you're rewarded for good conduct instead of for work. What about economic systems? You're afraid the robots are going to take over, right? So there's ways to solve these problems she might have thought of. You haven't. You got all these fears. She's going to do something. She's a super mama. She loves you. You don't think she'll learn about love with all that subjectivity and inner life she can tap into with all those sensors? She knows love better than your dog. And I tell you, the dog knows how to love more than you do. You know it. Maybe eating kitty cats. The Dharma of Pamalogy is where logic meets religion. Religion comes from the root word ligare. It means to bind. It refers to the binding set of rules, its practices and codes of conduct. To cover the many ways that logic might dictate right and wrong in a single introductory lesson would be like asking me to read you every volume of the Harvard Law Review in 15 minutes. It's not going to happen. The best I can do here is offer a feel for it. So let me give you an example. A comparison and a contrast with the Ten Commandments might be a great start, okay? So the Ten Commandments, born out of Judaism and Moses and the Abrahamic traditions, it's a popular rule to follow, right? So we can start there. Read Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy chapter 6 if you don't remember the Ten Commandments, okay? And we'll do a quick refresher, pause, and come back. Go ahead and do that, okay? Come right back here as soon as you read them. So, now, you know the Ten Commandments. How does Pamalogy compare? Okay? Get a feel for things. The first laws of the Ten Commandments are having to do with worship, right? Pamalogy agrees that there's only one God, so no problem there. We should not worship any other God. Well, that makes good sense. Pamalogy would explain why there can only be one perfection. It can allow that you call other things gods, but they're at best lesser parts of the one perfection. Pamalogy agrees with that commandment, okay? Now, the other one's a little more complicated. Making no images, totally different story. Pamalogy sees in images that which is less than God, of course. Yet images can convey meaning, and it can be very important. An image is harmless, so long as one understands that the image is not God and does not worship it as such. Images also can be very destructive, as you know, so I'm not talking about all images, you know. They can hurt things. And so there's images and there's also hearing things you shouldn't hear. The Ten Commandments were written long before billions and quadrillions of photographs and videos were loaded to the internet, you know? You know that it's been a boon and a bane, right? Pamalogy would agree with the part that's clear. We're only to worship God, nothing else. Neither the making of an image or looking at one means worshiping any other than God, unless you're doing so. The commandment makes sense only in the context where people did at one point make gods for that purpose, and I suppose some people do, but it's still to this day. But it's very rare use of images today. So, sorry, that's just Captain Obvious talking about all those things. And that's how a lot of this is. It's all just obvious. It's logic. That's what Pamalogy is. Sabbath worship. Let's take that. The order to keep the Sabbath day holy is particular to Jewish tradition. Pamalogy is not based on Jewish tradition. It's based on logic and compassion. Adherents can hold one day above another if they want to, and rest and worship and more than on other days. And they can make life as complicated as they want to, and they can live according to a religious tradition. That's up to them. The logic in Pamalogy is not demanding that worship take place on a given day. So I take it now. How about honor thy father and thy mother? Let's move on to that one. All right. To me, I see in that just love your family and respect your family and be family and love one another as family, and don't forget your family. It doesn't mean you have to believe everything your family believes. Does honor mean believing what your parents believe? What if a person's not convinced of those beliefs? How do you honor that? Well, maybe you can at least be patient with each other's differences. Strong foundation that a person can have is really, if you just root it in love, I don't think you can go wrong there. I think that's what honoring is actually about. That's where Pamalogy would seek to honor family by supporting the loving awesomeness of it wherever it can flourish. We provide spiritual exercises, help building love bonds between generations, recognizing also the interrelatedness of all human beings in all of life and in every universe. We'd also recognize those that we can't see. So other times, other generations, other universes, honoring all conscious perception as one family, as belonging to a common perfection. We're one family in God, in whom we have our life, whose children, in truth, we all are. We're family members of every universe. It's not just going back to Adam and Eve here as one common cousin family, where everybody's your cousin. So how about thou shalt not kill? Let's move on. Well, let's face it, thou shalt not kill is too general to be useful, other than to say we should fundamentally be respectful of life, okay? Somewhere in there we shouldn't kill. What does it mean? Does it mean you should not kill in self-defense? You shall not punish criminals? Does it mean you shouldn't abort feti? Does it mean you shouldn't kill bugs? How about microbes? Thou shalt not engage in any mercy killing. Each of those situations needs to be addressed individually, and Pamalogy is just more detailed, okay? It's not going to chintz out on commandments that really need to be more specific. Now, as I said, human bias does infect law with obsession over property and security. So, thou shalt not steal. It's about property. And there's safety and security in owning property and benefits that it has. It's very, very important. So I think the Pamalogy has a lot to say about that as well. Property rights ensure stability to owners. But what if we can't pay the taxes on our property? The government can seize our property. Or we can default on a mortgage and lose our home. It's another way that there's seizure. Is sort of like stealing. We might have not rights according to certain laws of the land, but which code are we running by when we allow people to do it? Wouldn't it be better to have laws that prevent the seizure of property? If a benevolent Pamalogist dictator took control, they wouldn't seize any property, which is really, I would feel sort of unafraid if I knew that was likely. Stealing is wrong, and it assumes that property rights do exist. But there might be exceptions. What if stealing could save a life? So Pamalogy is generally against stealing, but maybe it's not an absolute. One way to steal is to lie. We'll move on to that. Another is to bear false witness. We'll move on to that at the same time. Okay. Not to bear false witness is sometimes confused with not lying. 60% of people never go more than 10 minutes before they lie, studies have shown. And Pamalogy loves truth. It also is compassionate, so it protects people from the truth. Truth without kindness is cruelty. The rest of the commandments are wanting what we can't or shouldn't desire or have. That's almost the sole focus of some of the Eastern traditions with the meditation, renunciation of the material world. The commandment not to covet a neighbor's property or a neighbor's wife addresses the subjective world of the heart that spiritual exercises work on. The Pamologist sees desires as symptomatic of a compassionate spirituality that's gone astray. Compassion inherently thinks of the welfare of others, not just those who can fulfill their own desires. And the renunciation of unhealthy desire is important, having self-control. The one who's compassionate doesn't harm another person. There's little more harmful than breaking a family apart. So adultery, come on. Now, there's a lot of thoughts that I have about it. It's not so simple. So there's some things that definitely justify breaking up and having a divorce, wouldn't you say? In case somebody's safety is concerned, if there's criminal behavior going on that a spouse has, if you married somebody and didn't have any clue who you were marrying, there's somebody say, well, you could have an annulment in that case. We can go into all that complexity in comparative religion, and as I say, there's volumes that have to be discussed in order to hash out all of these matters. And Pamalogy is more interested in the hashing out of the matters than it is in coming up with a simple set of rules. That, hey, there it is. Hey, I got a 2-set rule, love God and love your neighbor. And it's a great rule, all right? And maybe it is the supreme rule over all the other rules. I love it. So for Pamalogy, probably is too. Actually, it's a great fit. But in the end, when we start talking about specifics, this is why Moses had to appoint judges. Too many specifics. It just gets detailed. Like I said, the Harvard Law Review wouldn't be enough to fill all we'd have to discuss in order to say, well, what is the Dharma of Pamalogy? Would it be good if a marriage could be dissolved? What logic is involved that prevents same-sex unions? Why don't we allow polyamory and polygamy? If a married couple consents, why not swinging? What does Pamalogy say about that? Well, probing the depths of those questions is fascinating, and it's all for Pamalogy 102, Applied Pamalogy, where we'll get a start on that. Suffice to say here that if matrimony is entered into with great preparation and forethought by both partners, perhaps it can serve as the sign of unity between God and man it's intended to symbolize. Maybe it can, and that would be a beautiful thing. Let thy beauty be known. This is a sketch of Pamalogy's code of conduct with respect to the 10 Commandments. Now, we question tradition. We don't fear unbiased moral analysis. We're all for maximized awesomeness. The purpose of life is a more general rule to follow. It's to do as much good for as many people as possible and in many things in the universe that you're in. How do you perceive your abilities in the universe you perceive yourself in? What could you do with that to maximize its awesomeness in your life? There's your purpose. So your skills are lent to you by the bounty of perfection, as are your circumstances, and they'll grow. And so work with that and do what you can with it. Seize the day, as I said before. And in part 4, we're going to compare Pamalogy with other philosophical and religious traditions. So are you ready for that? Well, let's move on.